just a little bit different today. So welcome. I am Jen Lafine. I'm the founder of Jen Lafine Coaching. I am a certified professional coach for high achieving women, just like all of you. And I am also a master teacher, which is why I love doing lunch and learn workshops, because it's an opportunity to teach some things that I've learned and that I have found to be successful for me. And hopefully they will help you too. So today we are talking about getting comfortable with the discomfort of doing hard things. And we know as high achieving women that we like to challenge ourselves and do those hard things, but sometimes we forget that it's okay that it's hard. And so that is what I'm going to be talking about today. Hold on one second. Let's see. Sorry, guys, I need to bring up this thing. We have a brand new puppy in the house, so it's been a little bit crazy town over here. Not mine. He will be going home with my daughter, but he's so cute. All right.
On Facebook, he's very cute.
He is adorable, isn't he? Oh my gosh. Devil in a puppy suit for sure. So, all right. So as I begin every session, I want to share with you guys the history of the primal brain. And I know that I beat this horse to death, so to speak, but it really, really is important in understanding why it is that we struggle when we want to do hard things. So the brain, the scientists have discovered through the evolution of the brain that there is a part of our brain called the primal brain, which is the oldest part of the brain that was most active when we walked around carrying clubs back in the prehistoric days. As a matter of fact, sometimes they refer to it as the lizard brain because they want to make it sound really old. No, I don't know why they call it the lizard brain, but that's my guess. So the prehistoric brain has three functions and three jobs. It wants to keep us safe, it wants to keep us alive, and it wants to keep us lazy. Because if you think about what life was like back in the prehistoric days, the risks that our ancestors faced are way different from the risks that we face today. They had to deal with things like famine and ice ages, and it was just really important that they had energy and community to be able to protect them if they needed it. Now, the reason that I'm talking to you about the primal brain is because the primal brain regulates our thoughts and emotions. Even still today, it has not evolved and caught up with the fact that it is the year 2022. So when it senses some danger, it starts to freak out, thinking that there's trouble ahead and that you are no longer safe. So it will send you feelings and thoughts to try to get you to go back to your comfort cave as a way of keeping you safe and alive. So what does this have to do with doing hard things? Well, hard things is as far away from our comfort zone as we could possibly imagine. And the primal brain does not like us to leave our comfort zone. It really does seek out laziness. And so when we start to do things that are a little bit difficult for us, and the primal brain starts to get a little bit nervous, it starts to send us thoughts and feelings that are uncomfortable for us so that we stop doing what we were doing before. Now, we can outsmart that. We can be aware of what's going on. And what I want to teach you today is how to do that when you are trying to do your hard thing and you are experiencing discomfort. Now, I used to teach fourth grade, and I taught all the subjects, but my favorite one was writing. And if anyone's familiar with writing, you know that sometimes writing is really difficult. When my students, however, were learning to write and they experienced the difficulty, like they experienced the discomfort of it being so hard. They thought it meant that they were doing something wrong. And what I wanted to show them is that difficulty or feeling that discomfort when you're doing things that are hard or new, that is very, very normal. So let's talk about doing hard things. The first thing that I want to teach you guys is to expect that life is 50-50. There's the good and there's the bad. And it's about, the school I went to talked about it being 50-50, 50% good, 50% bad. I like to think it's like 70-30, 70 good, 30 maybe not so good, because I'm more optimistic. But if you think like the things that we do are going to be sometimes easy and sometimes hard. When things are easy, maybe we think to ourselves, oh, look, I'm doing something right. Yet when things are hard, we may think to ourselves, oh no, I'm doing something wrong, when really that's just the way it's supposed to work. So when we are doing our hard thing, which could be anything, it's going to look like something that's completely different for each of us. And we start to experience discomfort, that is our primal brain telling us that we're in danger, that we are leaving our comfort zone, and we're going to be expending way more energy than it wants us to. And it wants us to get back to our comfort cave as quickly as possible. So to do this, it sends you looking for pleasure because it wants you to be seeking pleasure again. Now, what we call that when your brain sends you seeking for pleasure as a way of escaping negativities, what we call that is buffering. And if you think of like a computer, like when you're working on something and your computer freezes up and you get that little circle that's like going around thinking, like that's kind of like what buffering does. And it pretty much stops you from taking forward action and just kind of keeps you stuck. And if you think about the last time that you tried to do something hard, and it became, the actual process of doing it became hard, think for a second about what happened to you. Did you buffer at all? Did you feel yourself like unable to figure out how to move forward and maybe wanting to seek some relief? If you did, that's called buffering. And I want to tell you about some of the symptoms or some of the ways of knowing that you're buffering. So here are some examples of buffering, which is a way where you are seeking to remove the negativity, that bad feeling from your body, and find a surge of pleasure or positive feelings. Here's some ways that we do that. Snacking. So I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times when I'm working and I'm doing something really difficult, I'm like, oh, I think I need to go have a snack. That'll for sure, like, I must have a snack. And so before you know it, you're standing in the pantry and you're like, oh, carbs, right? Because carbs give you that hit of energy and like the feel good vibes. But really, once those good feelings drop off, what's going to be left? The negative feelings, right? And more negative feelings added on top of that because you just blew your eating plan, right? And now you have to deal with that and with the guilt from that. And let me see here. Another way we buffer is alcohol and drinking. Sometimes we will turn to alcohol as a way of escaping something uncomfortable that we don't want to deal with. Maybe it's been a crazy day, and so your habit is to go home and have a couple glasses of wine instead of dealing with the negative emotions of the day and helping yourself process those. Other ways that we buffer is by binge watching TV. So they kind of joke about like, you know, when you get Netflix and they release like a whole series in one day. and you are like, I just totally sat on the sofa for 10 hours straight and watched, all of Ted Lasso. And a lot of times when we do that, it's because we're trying to avoid doing something hard. Not always, but sometimes. And then let me see. Another way is by going down the rabbit hole of the internet and going down the rabbit hole of social media. Have you ever gotten yourself on social media and you're scrolling, what do they call it? Doom scrolling? Like you just keep scrolling and scrolling and you're like, I don't know why I am doing this. But before you know it, like half an hour has gone by and you're never going to get that half an hour back, right? It's very tempting when you are feeling discomfort from trying to avoid doing something that you don't want to do, to turn, like, think how many times a day do you pick up your phone? I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago about the worst thing that ever happened to me, or maybe the best thing, was when they started telling me how much time I'm spending in each of my different areas on my phone. And I'm like, oh, not good. So that awareness is a good thing to know, but it also is like showing me like, oh, that's a lot of wasted time. So, oh, there's a bee in here. Okay, that's great. All right, what else do we do? Oh, sometimes we buffer with cleaning. And if you are a compulsive cleaner, ask yourself, is it because you really want your house to be clean, or is it because you're avoiding doing something else? We were kind of joking at the top of the hour about writing a book, and any other times when I have tried to write books, or when I'm writing an article and I have a deadline I need to hit, my house is never as clean as those days or the weeks that I have a deadline, because I'm like, oh, I need to scrub the grout in the bathtub because it absolutely has to be done before this article gets done, right? And once this is done, I'll feel so much better and I'll be able to get to work on my article. Unfortunately, it never really works out that way, because when I'm done scrubbing the grout, I'm like, oh, when's the last time that I washed the rugs? Like maybe I need to get the carpet cleaner out. So I see some of you like nodding your head. So I know that you are familiar with this. So ask yourself, are you doing that to avoid something difficult? Or is it because you really want your house clean? Another way I wanted to talk to you about for buffering is compulsive shopping. We call it, in my house, we joke around, we call it retail therapy, but it could be anything from going on and shopping at Amazon, to going and walking around Target, to just taking a whole day when you are trying to avoid something negative and spending that time giving yourself a quick hit of feel good emotions from shopping, maybe finding sales, things like that. But again, all of these things, well, maybe not the cleaning, but most of these things come with regret at the end, right? And that, in addition to having to deal with that regret, we also have to deal with the fact that our hard thing is still there waiting for us at the end, right? So are there any questions on buffering before I go on? Does it sound familiar to anyone? Anyone have a favorite form of buffering they want to share?
I call it research.
Yes. Research. Yes.
I'm researching that camera gear that I would really like to buy if I had the money.
Oh, instead of doing what?
Instead of editing pictures and earning
okay, instead of editing pictures. Cleaning the house. Linda, what are you avoiding when you clean the house?
At the time, the big one was pushing through doing videos for social media. The
Yes.
sound, the lighting, the content, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
So that was, yeah, everything was so squeaky clean. You could see my house from the moon.
You're like, oh, well, I'm going to be on video. People might be able to see that I have like, dust in the corner or something, which by the way, if you all don't know Linda, she's a personal trainer and she does online sessions and she's amazing. So
thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's continue, because now that we are aware of buffering, one of the things that you need to do is to be aware of when you're buffering and when you are taking on other behaviors to get a quick hit of feel goodness as a way of avoiding doing something hard. And as Joanna and Linda shared, like, yeah, they're doing something that is making them feel good, that they're justifying to themselves that what they're doing at the time is important. But also it's because they're avoiding doing something that maybe they are struggling with. And as we are, I wanted to talk about the discomfort of doing hard things. Like, we've got doing the easy things doesn't bring the discomfort because a lot of those things just also happen on autopilot. So we don't have to really think about them. Okay. But when we're doing hard things, it requires us to get out of our comfort cave. It requires us to think outside the box. The primal brain, again, does not like that. And that's why it sends us, we want to go looking for buffering as a way of kind of like pulling ourselves back to the comfort cave. All right. So how do we fix discomfort from doing hard things? How do we get through it? Because the first step I talked about is becoming aware of it and becoming aware of when you're doing it. And this is just going to take awareness on your part. Okay. When you find yourself sitting down to edit photos, to create social media videos, and then all of a sudden you're like distracted, you get that urge of like, I must clean this now, or I must find this research, it has to be done now. Ask yourself, does it really? Is that true? Or does it just feel true? There's that favorite question I have again. Is it true or does this just feel true? Okay. So recognizing this, when you are buffering is a great way to get yourself back on track, because then when you do, you can just say to yourself, oh no, I really don't need that snack right now. I'm going to work on this for 5 minutes. And if I'm still hungry at the end of 5 minutes, then I can have that snack. Okay. I also want you to learn on recognizing the signs of discomfort for what they are. They are distractions from your primal brain, right? Trying to get you off track. Awareness is the first step to avoiding that. So again, primal brain, trying to get you back to the comfort cave. I also want you to remember that there will be times when you're doing this work when it's easy. Okay. When you're going to find flow, there are also going to be times when it's going to be hard. Okay. But we can do hard things, right? Did you guys see my stickers? This was my email this week. I can do hard things. Put those in my journal too. So recognizing that sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's hard. And just because it's hard doesn't mean anything's gone wrong. It's just the primal brain trying to drag you back to the comfort cave. I also want you to remember that if you are buffering and you redirect yourself back to work, there's something that I call productive discomfort. And that is after about 90 seconds of telling yourself, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to work on this for 5 minutes. And then I'm going to get up and take a break if I feel like I need a break. After about 90 seconds, your brain is going to forget that discomfort and you're going to start getting towards your flow state of where it becomes almost like easier for you. So productive discomfort lasts 90 seconds. Now you can apply this to almost everything. So like weight loss, when you are dieting and you're getting an urge for food, for a snack or for a drink of some kind or dessert, something sweet, busy yourself. And after about 90 seconds, that feeling of discomfort will be so much less. Same thing. Let's say you wanted to start jogging, you wanted to start exercising. After about 90 seconds, all of a sudden your brain will start focusing on something else and will not be so focused on the discomfort. So when you're getting an urge to get up and move away from what you're supposed to be doing, acknowledge the urge, say, that's an urge. Okay, I got it. That's what an urge, that's what it feels like. I can feel that urge. It's okay. I can just keep working. Urges and buffering and distraction and breaks have no power over you unless you let them have power over you. Okay. Keep in mind the goal you're trying to achieve, your why behind that goal. Keep that at the forefront of your mind and why you're doing what you're doing. And instead of focusing on the urge, focus on those things. It helps make it so much easier. And finally, my final tip for you is to remember A, B, C, the letters A, B, C. Action brings clarity. So if you find that you are spinning in discomfort, in, in the, I don't know what the next step is to take. I don't know what the next step is to do something. Action brings clarity, because once you start to take action, your brain is not going to be so focused on that discomfort, and it's going to be free to go deeper into your creativity, to go into other ideas, move yourself forward. It all happens through action, which, if you remember from past weeks, we talked about how important it is that is a conscious decision for you and a commitment. It doesn't just happen by wishing it. You have to make a commitment to making that change. Okay. What questions do you guys have today? Let me see. I'm going to go through the chat here. Anybody have something that you would like coaching on in regards to this today, while we've got a few minutes left?
I always find that once I sit down and start something, then just exactly what you said, but you sit down and finally start it, you've got a to-do list and you've got a whole bunch of things to do. Like, I've got the KWN newsletter to do. That's something that tends to get pushed back and pushed back.
Mm-hmm.
And if I start it, then I can, and get going on it, then it's not so bad. I can get it. It moves along. And writing a blog post and stuff like that, if I know what to write, I can write it in about 15 minutes. If I am searching for ideas, it takes me a lot longer, and I keep putting it off.
Yeah, and I'm sure the same thing for you. Like, you'll start and then it'll be done and you'll be like, what was the big deal?
Yeah.
Like, that really was no big deal for me to sit down, and that quote, like, it always seems impossible until it's done.
Yeah.
That to me is a line that I keep running through my head, because I want to remember, like, my brain right now is keeping me feeling this discomfort. It's keeping me spinning in confusion because it doesn't want me to get it done. So it's making it seem like it's impossible.
I like what Michelle said. She's going to give her primal brain a name.
Give your primal brain a name. Did you name it, Michelle? No?
Yeah.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
A lot of people do. Maybe for next week, you all should come up with a name for your primal brain. Seriously.
Yeah. One of the podcasts I listen to, they refer to this, where you're saying your brain is telling you can't do something. They call it head trash.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it's the head trash that tells you you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're not going to do this. What do you think you're doing?
I call it the brain bully.
Yes.
Because it believes it has my best interests at heart.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
But to me, it's just trying to keep me playing small. So, anyone else?
I always find that I want to do so much, and I've got 20 different ideas, and I just want to do them all at once, because I get so sad that I almost become in a gridlock, and then I clean, you know what I mean? Or something like, and
Yes.
Linda, I'm going to give you my address. When you ever get in that mood to clean, you just come on over, my friend. Over. Keep you real busy. Or we'll talk, and then we won't have to do any of the things we're supposed to do. But I get in a gridlock. I'm like, oh yes, or we'll have a cocktail. Done.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, I want to do all the things. I'm so excited. And then I'm like, oh God, I'm so stressed out because I don't know where to start. Yeah.
Well, and then you've never started. So now you've got the stress of that on you too.
Yep. And
Right.
I just beat myself up. So then I'm like, okay, so that I have to tell my, like you said, you named your primal brain. I almost talk to it like it's a different person. I'm like, okay, you know what? Here's the deal. Nothing, you're okay. You're still okay. You're still, I don't try to do the shame blame game because wouldn't do that to anybody else. But I would never do that to like a husband, a boyfriend, a child, my mom, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't do it. I try not to myself too, but I do. I'm like, your house is clean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking like one of the next, not next week, but maybe the week after, I'm going to talk about that voice in our inner voice
Yeah.
and the bully that it can totally be to us and why
Yeah.
and how to handle that. I think maybe
It's okay to talk back to it.
but you know what? Here's the thing, Stacey, and
Yeah.
as well as I do that voice that's telling you those things
Mm-hmm.
is a liar. And most people don't know that they can question that voice because that is the voice of your fear, of your primal fear.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't know that that's separate from them.
Yeah. And I always try to tell it like the repercussions if I don't do the thing. Like, here's the thing, you don't have to do it. You do whatever you want. You don't have to do the thing.
Yes.
If you don't do the thing.
Yes. And I would also add that, you mentioned you have like 20 things on your to-do list.
Or just in my head that I'm excited about, want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, did your brain give you all of those things to do as a way of keeping you stuck spinning?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's much smarter than I am sometimes.
Well, it thinks it is, but it's not.
No, this has been awesome. This is really good, Jen. Thanks.
Good.
I love it.
Yeah.
Next week, everybody, I am going to be teaching you all my morning journaling process. If you are interested in journaling, you're definitely going to want to be here. How to use journaling to, I haven't figured out like a catchy name for it yet, but it's going to be like how to use journaling for success or to get success in any goal. I have been using the same journaling process for several months and it is giving me amazing results. And I want to teach that to you guys. So next week, please bring your journal because we're going to work through it together. Okay. Even if you're not like an avid journaler, I hope you'll give it a chance because I think it can get you great results too. So, all right, everyone, if there are no other questions, I appreciate